This is a tutorial on how to draw a 3D cube in Flash CS5 that also works in CS4. Here's my cube. It's works pretty well, and I can rotate it with the 3D rotation tool. And I guess the only downside to 3D shapes like this in Flash is that, notice right now I have the alpha at 50%. If you set it to 100, then it really messes up their perspective, because one of the faces of the cube is always being drawn first and not in the proper order that it should be drawn to make the cube perspective work. But that's not such a big deal, because you can still have it be transparent. So I'm going to show you how to make that same cube exactly from scratch. So here's the new file. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to turn the grid on, go to View, Grid, Edit Grid, turn the grid on, because that'll make it a whole bunch easier to make this cube. So I checked Show Grid and Snap to Grid, and I'm going to make it 50 by 50 pixels. And I'm also going to say Always Snap, just to make sure my squares will be in the right place when I snap them. So go to the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle. It's going to be x 100, y 100, width 100, and height 100. So pretty simple. This will eventually be the base of our cube. But first I need to convert it to a movie symbol, since only movie symbols can be rotated in 3D in Flash. So I'm going to just name it square, movie clip, registration in the middle. Okay. So, and I'm also going to, in the properties of the movie clip, under vanishing point, change this to 150. 150. You can change that later to make the cube look like it's from a different perspective, but this just makes it easier to draw, because 150 is the center of this cube right now. You want the cube in this position, by the way, not nowhere else, because otherwise this doesn't work. Anyway, I would also make it about 50% alpha, just so it's easier to work with, so we can see through it, because we're going to need to eventually. And okay, so copy 5 more squares just like it, and arrange 4 of them around it in a plus sign, and this one will be our last face, which we'll put on finally at the last one. Okay, so for each of these 4 outer squares, we're going to change the first, if you don't already have it out, go to Window and Transform to open this transform panel, which is we're going to use a lot for making the cube. So for the left one, outer square, under the 3D center point, under the transform panel, set the x to 100, and the y should already be 150. And that'll make it so that when we rotate it, it'll rotate along this edge here, which then we can rotate it to, or eventually got to rotate it to 90 degrees to make it be one side of the cube. But I'm going to undo that. So that's 100, 150. The right one will be 200, 150. The top one will be 150, 100, x, y. And the bottom one will be x 150, y 200. Not 50, 200. Okay, so now we're just going to rotate them into their proper places. So the left one, the y, under 3D rotation, under transform still, the y will be 90 for the left one. For the right one, it's going to be negative 90. For the top one, now in the x under 3D rotation, it's going to be negative 90 for the top one, and 90 for the bottom one, under x still. And so now we're almost done. So select the 5 squares we've just been working with, and see there's still a 3D center point. We want to change this so it's x is 150, y is 150, and z is 50. Okay, so that way when we rotate the square or the cube, it will rotate in the as a center of the rotation point will be in the center, and that's what I want. And so I'm going to undo that. So if we select that again and say if there's the 3D rotation is now x is negative 90 and y is 0, it might be different for you. I've done this a few times and it's not always consistent, but set whatever thing is 90 to 0 or negative 90, and then drag your final piece, your 6th face, up to be parallel, well, to be right next to this lighter side of your cube, of your rotated cube now, and set the 3D rotation center point of this top, or of this final piece to right here, well, to this, so it rotates about this edge, and so that's 150, 100. So x is 150, y is 100, z is 0. That's fine. And so now I want to set the x rotation to negative 90, I believe, just like we did with the first top panel. Well, not first, but yeah, and then we're almost done nearly. So I selected all, and now I'm saying the 3D center point, I'm going to change that to 150. It got messed up because of that new panel, but I'm going to set it to 150, 150, 50 again, and selecting all, rotate the cube, and it's a cube, and it's done.